it's another go-round of SDH. Now I hit show camera, then that means you get to finally see me. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday, so whatever's on your mind is whatever's on your mind. It can be having to do with what we're going to talk about with Tyler Pilgrim from S&S, Scarves N Spikes. We'll catch up with Tyler here coming up in just a little bit here for hour number one, where we'll go over Atlanta United, any leftovers that are there, looking forward to Chicago, all the things. Which reminds me, I'm going to try and find some Oppo research from our friends up in Chicago and find out if folks can come and join us to let everybody know what's going on for the rest of the week. There we go. All right. So there's that. You've got what happened in Open Cup last night. We'll hear from the head coach of Tacoma Defiance after they had a lead 2-1, eventually would end up leaving the tournament 3-2. It was chalk last night for the endings, even though it was difficult for some folks in the beginnings. We'll go over all of that. We'll go over your juice boxes, getting you ready for the matchups tonight in Open Cup to get you through here in the round of 32. And so we'll play all of those juice boxes out, and you'll hear from the head coach of Tacoma Defiance, who was not a fan of his referee assignment last night. And so apparently there is some history there. We'll hear from Hervé Diaz coming up in hour number two. We'll go over the rest of MLS in hour number two. We'll go over Champions League, probably with Tyler if he saw it yesterday. I don't know how many of you saw what went down yesterday. The 7-6 match. Oh man, you run out of things to say. You just throw your notes in the air, and you're just kind of like, yep. 7-6 in the aggregate. Absolutely crazy. It was 2-0, then it wasn't. It was 3-2, then it wasn't. Then it goes into extra time. And then you end up with 4-3, 7-6 in the aggregate. You've got to be blanking kidding me. So we'll go over all the numbers in that, and we'll go over the juice boxes for the matchup today and see what it looks like there. We'll also talk GHSA playoffs to get you ready for Soccer's In Session Playoff Daily Live coming up at noon. At noon, we'll hear from Heather Richardson, the girls' head coach at Social Circle, Megan Hill, the head coach at Buford, Aaron Paul, the head coach at Morgan County. We'll go over all your brackets and set up your quarterfinals for you, and we'll set up the shows when it comes to Thursday and Friday. Next week, In Session will probably be shorter in length, setting up the finals, because I don't know how many coaches are going to be willing to visit on a match day, and especially with the schedules being what they are, they could be on buses, although it'd be cool to see you on a bus. But Soccer is In Session Playoff Daily Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. That will be once again through this week, and then again next week, but I think will be shorter because of championships, and we want you to attend championships if you are near McEachern, if you're traveling with your favorite club, if you're near Duluth and traveling with your favorite club, and at Mercer and traveling with your favorite club. So what we'll also do next week is we'll try and catch up with some of the programs that had great runs this season, bring on Brian Lawson at Jeff Davis, catch up with Coach Johnstone at Gilmer, and we'll work our way and navigate through all of what happened this season and kind of put a bow on things when it comes to the schedule here with the GHSA. Word kind of got out, one of our venues. So tomorrow we're going to be at Whitewater. And so it'll be Whitewater. It'll be girls tomorrow. And so Whitewater and Oconee County will be at Whitewater. So it'll be me, Maddie, Jason, and Sophia Cupertino. We'll all be there. Bottom line is we'll all be there. Unless there has been a switch or there has not been a switch in a doubleheader venue possibility. So we're keeping an eye on that. I could be on SDH2 with our main game on SDH with Whitewater and Oconee County. So we know Whitewater and Oconee County is going to be one of the games. That's going to be on the network. That's going to be on tomorrow. We have a second venue that we're trying to figure out, okay, when and where. And when that's officially official, we'll let you know. We're going to this particular venue. We just don't know the day. And I don't want to stray all of you and sit there and say, okay, well, we're going to be here and then not be. So we're going to be there. We just don't know the when. Venue number 2. So we are going to have 2 matchups. It could be our Friday matchups. It could be a doubleheader on Friday with this particular club, or it could be trying to find a venue on Friday and SDH 1 and SDH 2 up and running with me doing the matchup on SDH 2 on the venue if this particular team cannot square away a doubleheader possibility. So that's what the plan is. Yes, we're at Whitewater on Thursday for the matchup against Oconee County. Yes, we have a second venue locked in, just trying to figure out when that second venue is going to have their matches. And it could be, once again, on SDH2 on Thursday, or it could be our Friday matches on the mothership. So we're still trying to figure all that out. But Soccer's in Session, Playoff Daily Live, continues this week. We'll go through the championships next week. And then we'll, like I said, it won't necessarily be an hour every day unless content dictates. And we have a bunch of coaches coming in. So we'll go as long as we can Monday through Friday next week, with the championships being next week. And we'll set up everything going on with the championships in the GHSA. And thanks once again to the GHSA for being great partners with us and letting us do postseason matches all around the state of Georgia, and to the ADs and all the coaches that have been great when it comes to letting us come out and hang out in your place. Like last night, to give you an idea. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Alex. Last night, to give you an idea, we were in Dalton. And if you missed the Dalton Pius match, it's available in archive, so you can go back and listen to it. But it was a solid crowd for a 6:30 kick. So folks coming home from work were stopping at Harmon Field and Bill Chappell Stadium to watch Dalton take on St. Pius. And St. Pius, once again, a blue blood, number 26 nationally, and with Dalton nationally ranked as well. It was just slam bang soccer for 80 minutes, and it was really fun to be up there for that one. I think it was our fourth visit to Dalton this year. It was Johnson, Gainesville, and Fort Payne, I think. And it was Northwest Whitfield, and it was last night with Pius. And we have been invited back for the matchup against Westminster on Friday. So, I mean, it's out there, but it has been a fantastic run to see all of these teams come through. When you see a team like Dalton, who is nationally ranked, top 5 in the state of Georgia, top 5 nationally ranked, regardless of classification. And Jason made the point last night on the show, on the broadcast, where when you go, and the food, by the way, is fantastic. And of course, me sitting there going, ooh. And to give you an idea, the crowd that was there to watch the Dalton soccer match last night, at halftime, it was back and forth. And you had a tight match after 40 minutes. So everybody goes to the eastern stands to get your street tacos and your elote and everything else for halftime. The line for the tacos, you would not have, last time that Jason and Maddie were there, Maddie stood in line for tacos, didn't get back until halftime of the second match. So everyone's in line at halftime to try and get food. To give you an idea how intense the environment was, once the second half started, the line disappeared. Everybody went back to their seats for the second half of the game. Joe Gonzalez, by the way, player of the match, presented by our friends at Oglethorpe University, for a ridiculous free kick where he doesn't wait for the wall to set up. He doesn't wait for everything to be locked in place. He just goes ahead and fires and goes far post upper 90 over the keeper, which was insane. And then Gonzalez from the spot for the 2 goals for St. Pius and for Dalton, and the 2-1 win over St. Pius. But once again, you tip your hat to Dalton. Fantastic environment. If you've never been, go to Harmon Field. If you're in that part of the state, if you're just passing through, if you don't have anything to do on a football match day, go to Dalton. Fantastic environment, especially in the rivalry games that are up there in Northwest Georgia. But 2-1 win for Dalton. They advance. And once again, thanks to everybody up there at Dalton. Matt Cheeves, the head coach, and everybody in the athletic administration for letting us come and party and hanging out there. So fantastic environment. Absolutely love being there. We love going. And for us to have the chance to call these matches in and around the state, and once again, it's an absolute blast to go and do it. We'll be at Whitewater once again. We're at Whitewater, and we're going to be in another location. Once again, trying to figure out if we're going to have SDH 1 and 2 up and running Thursday, or if we're going to be at that location for a doubleheader on Friday. So that's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, there's your QR code. For those of you hanging out with us, however you are accessing us this morning, that's your QR code to get into Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Start your day with them. Buy out the entire store. Do it at a 15% discount at checkout and go Soccer Down Here 15. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it into youth games, youth initiatives, stuff that they think of as cool. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, there you go. So now it is 9:15. Actually, it's 9:16 because I was somewhat filibustering, but it was an opening kickoff situation, so I felt compelled that it had to be talked about. So anyway, now we go to the Casa de Pilgrim and find out what is on the man's mind, and we'll see what leftovers of heat and pain and grief and all the other 7 stages are there. So we'll bring in Tyler. So okay, there. Yes, there. Yeah, I see you working. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So that's where at least Tyler is in this discussion. Brett busted Ted Lasso mug and believe, and so where are the SNS? I guess first off, I'll say, where's the SNS staff when it comes to the 7 stages? Where are you right now?
I need to look at each of the 7 stages again so I can tell you exactly where we're at. But I think everybody's just at that point where we're waiting.
Yeah. Okay. So
and hoping.
And wishing and praying. I see how this.
Yeah.
All right. So we are in. It is shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, and hope.
Oh, we're at acceptance.
So you're at 6.
Yeah, I kind of went to 7 temporarily on Saturday, but I'm definitely we're definitely a full 6.
Yeah. So it's acceptance and hope is 6, and processing it is 7. So that's
okay. Okay. So
yeah. So you're at
acceptance
6.
And hope is the same thing. Definitely.
Yeah. Acceptance and hope is at 6. How many of the stages were the SNS viewers and listeners processing through from the weekend of having a lead and not keeping a lead and all that stuff?
You know, it wasn't as bad as I kind of thought it would be, because I think, you get that first lead, or the lead, and I think from the moment that Miggy scored the goal and he goes back and he's hyping everybody up, right? And you start to feel like, oh, here we go. Like, we're getting something going.
Yeah.
And then the ball's kicked off and the entire tempo and vibe just changed, like almost instantly. It was wild. And I think at that moment, at least for me, and we were up in the press box, me and like all the SNS guys and everybody, we were talking as it was going on. And we were like, if they don't fix this kind of weird tempo thing they have going on right now, this is not going to be a 1-0 lead for long. This is not sustainable. And so I don't think there was ever really that moment of like just straight up, hope, and then you get punched in the face. It was almost like, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen any minute now.
They were waiting for the other shoe, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one thing to, score a goal, because I've gone on a couple of rants about this, but it's one thing to score a goal and then you have your game plan, right? You control the tempo. And the easiest way to control the tempo in a soccer game is A, when you're up a goal, and B, when you're at home. Yeah. Both of which Atlanta had going for them on Saturday. And instead of, taking the advantage and making Nashville either chase the game and tire out Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surridge and their midfield and just possess the ball, pass it around them, wait for your opportunity, then hit. They didn't do that. And then they also never really did anything else. It's almost like they were stuck in between like 2 minds of like, we have the lead and we're not quite sure what we want to do with it at this point. And because of that, you kind of reverted to like on goal kicks, you're sending the ball long.
Yeah.
You're putting it into the proverbial mixer, hoping you come away with it, and you never came away with it. And so you're constantly giving possession back to Nashville. And then it was just a matter of time before they were able to snag another goal. So I just thought that was my biggest issue. Again, I know people are like up and down about the formation and blah, blah, blah. My biggest issue was the lack of the ability to control the tempo in this game. And it just seemed like it was something that they weren't prepared for. And I'm not saying they weren't, but that's the way that it looked.
Well, and you had, I think Ronnie after the match was discussing the notion of he didn't know if it was a physical or emotional or mental, two of those three. I can't remember which two they were. But
he said it's not motivation.
Yeah.
But he's not sure if it's mental or physical.
Yeah. So, when mental and physical, and we got into that early in the week here on the show, where it's the idea of, to your point, you don't want to compound a mistake, but because you're thinking about not making a mistake or compounding a mistake, you end up compounding the mistake, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, one of the things that has been very, very good advice for me in certain career paths in my life was you make a decision and stick to it. And to your point, like it kind of felt like you're so concerned about making the mistake that you revert and you play it too safe, and then the mistake happens anyway. And when you're playing it too safe, if you do then make a mistake, you usually make it in a worse position.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it felt like the decision was never really made of what they wanted to do. And I kind of likened it back to the Philly match where, you went up a man for a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
And it looked like you had never done, red card, like 11v10 drills. Like you just didn't really know what to do with the man advantage.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the way this felt.
If you're taking the Philly example, because if there is a 10-man team that is pressing, and if you ask Nick this, Nick will tell you, as a master of the follower of the press, as he says, that if you are the team with the man advantage and the team that is a man down is still pressing, that means that someone on your end of the man advantage is not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And not taking care of the advantage as best as you can to get around the press, to force that press to keep from happening. And so if you're too afraid to make a mistake, and if you're too afraid to process things, and you don't want to compound it, and you end up compounding it, and then it snowballs and all these kinds of things, that's where I think that you see the action on the pitch occasionally in this run of form, where it's like they're talented. These individuals are talented. You have seen it before. Regardless of competition, what these individuals are capable of. But then, if not wanting to let down your new boss, not wanting to let down your new teammates, not wanting to let down your current teammates, if you're in a position where you've been there before, and then everyone starts to sit there and look at, okay, well, if it's not this, then it's this. If it's not this person, it's this person. And then all the theories go out into the ether, and you're sitting there and saying, okay, well, what if you do this? What if you do this? And what if you do this? And then if you go away from your DNA, then you risk the idea of everything that you've been teaching up to this point basically going by the wayside, and then having to reconstruct, and you end up with it. Literally, there are so many if-thens in this entire season to this point. It's almost like you run out of legal pad trying to figure out all the if-thens that Atlanta United has had to go through this year.
Yeah, and it's like if you're familiar with what it is that you want to do in any particular situation, right? Like you've trained it, but you're not obsessing over it.
Yeah.
Then it's easy for the coach to, whatever direction you're going, pull Brooks or Pedro to the side and say, hey, let them know this is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
And then spread that out across the 11 that are on the pitch. And then you can kind of, like in this particular instance, it would have been, I mean, after the goal is scored, if you're not confident that you're going to go get a second, then that should have been communicated to Brad, because it all starts with Brad as far as controlling the tempo. It all starts with him, and you got to work your way up, to the center backs, the midfield, everything else. But you have to know, at least be familiar with what it is that you want to do. And it should just require the coach saying, hey, we're running this play, not that play from here on out. And it never really felt like that. It doesn't feel like that a lot of times. And, to play devil's advocate, I think Atlanta has been in such a position where they are just trying to get themselves right, like internally,
Yeah,
whatever that may be. Like they're just trying to, look like a cohesive unit out on the field that I don't know that they've had time to really focus on the fine details, like,
yeah.
how to control the tempo of a game or what to do if you go up a man or what to do if you go down a man for that matter.
Basics first.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. They're struggling so much with the basics and the fundamentals, just trying to get everything right that I don't know that they've had time to do all the other stuff.
And then you had the lineup change where Miranchuk is playing a little deeper in the 4-2-3-1. You had Jay on the left. You had a couple of tweaks in there with Bart on the bench, and so you had that to gauge as a part of this as well. Not that playing on the left wing is foreign to Jay, but he's done it before, and you look at that. But once again, we always sit there and say, just because you see a graphic from Opta or from television does not mean that that is what is going to be going on once the ball is kicked and a whistle is blown. So, Jay drifts back occasionally, and Ronnie mentioned it being a 4-4-2 at times where, Jay is helping to support in the midfield and all these kinds of things. So our caveat, our weekly caveat, just because you see a graphic does not mean that that is how things are going to be locked in stone for an entire match. But you had Jay on the left again. You had Miranchuk playing deeper as a bit of his point guard to try and help out defensively. But when you do that, you saw the numbers that Alexi had defensively. That takes away from what you want him to do offensively as your point guard. And so you're kind of in that catch-22 a little bit with Alexi as a part of this as well.
Yeah, and that's where I think Click is for all that he does well, because I love how he does when he's on the field. He does bring a little bit of that, that passion, that energy. He pulls somebody down and then kind of slowly walks by them, staring at them, mumbling whatever it is that he's mumbling like that. I want that.
Yes.
However, I think if you're going to play Alexi at the 8, which I think you should, I mean, this is not new. Like we've beat this horse a million times. But if you're going to do that, then Jay, who is your fastest midfielder, and according to quite a few people whose names rhyme with Max Descartes, he is the highest ceiling player right now on the team. But he provides speed and legs, and if you play him as that other midfielder, then he can help you clean up a lot. Because there was a moment where in the first half where Click was having to track back to help the center backs.
Yeah.
And he was struggling. He was very much struggling because I watched him specifically. I was like, how is he going to do when it comes time to actually, like really? I mean, you got a full on sprint, and he couldn't quite pull it off. And so, I think if you're going to do this, you do have to solve your left winger problem. Your left winger is and has been really the biggest issue. I know because we talk about the number 10, but you have number 10s. You're just trying to figure out how best to use them, but you don't have a left winger that you can count on. So, I mean, my opinion is put Luke out on that left side and just see what he does, and put Jay back in the middle behind Alexi, and then keep everything else more or less the same.
Well, and there you have part of of an idea. Yeah, whether it's Luke, whether it's Mosqueda, whether it is Saba on the left hand side inverting to his stronger foot. Do you run someone with the experience of player A, and then 30 minutes to go? Then do you bring in Fast Eddie? Do you bring in Cool Hand Luke? Do you have them run at tired legs for 30 minutes? And do you sit there and you add Luke and his chirping skills? I swear, I would guarantee that Luke Brennan probably learned from Larry Bird, and he'd probably sit there and go, "Who's Larry Bird?" But I think that his chirping skills, running it, folks, for 30 minutes, I think that it is something very, very special. And for me, that's where, if they show themselves in practice during the week, I could see, in a starting situation. But until that moment happens, have whomever on the left-hand side at your left wing, have them run for 60, and then have Mosqueda come in, have Luke come in, and be those individuals on the wings that can just add that extra bit of speed for that final 30 minutes with those younger legs that you mentioned. And Click, to your point there, I don't know where we know he is when it comes to being 90 minutes fit.
Yeah.
Because remember, he's still, for everybody who might not have recall totally on this, he's still coming back from injury. I don't know where he is in that playing 90 minutes. If you ask him, he'll sit there and say, yeah, I'm 90 minutes fit and I want to play, which is what the answer you want to hear. But physically, we don't know where he is in that 90 minutes fit bit.
Yeah, and that's where I think, again, depending on the way the game's going, I think Click would be that better option to come off the bench late, right? And because then you have tired legs around you as well. So even if your speed's maybe not up to snuff and everything else, you can maybe handle things a little bit better than you could in the first 30. And as far as like, Luke and Edwin on the left, I mean, I think when the team finds whatever starter left winger that they want, then yeah, I mean, because then you have options. You can use Luke, you can use Edwin, but in the meantime, like unless you keep putting Jay over there, which I don't think you need to do, only because I think he's going to be more effective fully as a midfielder anyway. Though he did look good actually for the majority of this match on the left, but I think you have to pick which one you think is going to get out there and cause as much chaos in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then bring on the other one. And I think, to me, every time Edwin Mosquera has been successful, it's been coming on as a sub late in the match. Yeah. So I think you start with Luke and, yeah, like you said, let him run his mouth and piss everybody off for 60 minutes. And then bring in Edwin to just run at the tired legs and just see what happens.
What else have you been staring at, analyzing, furrowing your brow, rubbing your beard over when it comes to Atlanta United as they get ready for Chicago? And to your point, once again, I think that if you look at the individuals available and the formation that you're going to be trotting out against Chicago in this new example, then, I think that legitimately right now it's going to be case-by-case basis. Okay, what does Chicago bring to the table, and how can we combat it as to figure out who it might be on the left wing until you come up with a someone or a combination that gives you that consistent play that you're looking for. I think right now you're at case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you still need, if you're going to do something similar, I think you do need to more or less run out what you did Saturday with the changes that I mentioned. I mean, that's what I would prefer. Yeah. I still think you got more out of Miguel at the 10 because, and I know people are going to look at the numbers and y'all know, like, I look at soccer very much like there's an eye test and there's a number test, and you got to look at both. And when the first 20, 25 minutes, Miggy was taking guys on, he was progressing the ball, he was getting into the final third. He was doing all the things that you want out of a direct number 10. And people are going to go back to he didn't create any chances. No, but he scored a goal, first of all. But he's progressing the ball. He's getting the ball into that final third where you can then do something with it. And you had things happening. Now, why in the world the team kind of completely changed tempo after that goal, I have no idea. I mean, I've already ranted about the tempo.
But is it that idea of, okay, you're trying to be too careful? Are you trying not to make a mistake? Are you trying to hang on to something, that the more you hang on to it, the more dangerous it becomes? Because that goal for Nashville, you knew it was coming because of, and we went through the numbers of possession in the last 60 minutes, I want to say, where Nashville, I think, outpossessed Atlanta 3-1 when it comes to the time on the pitch. But and like I said, Monday I kind of turned into almost an analytic looking at it through the emotion of it all, not numbers, but looking at it through the analytics of the situation, where getting back to our original points about not wanting to make a mistake. Okay, so you have a lead. All right, so you want to do what you can to hang on to that lead. There have been managers here in the past whose philosophy has been, what's the best thing when you've got a 1-goal lead? That's a 2-goal lead. And so continuing that mindset of push, 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 right now, if you've got a 1-goal lead, I think that there are, guys out there that are trying to hang on to that 1-goal lead instead of push, and chase after that second, because they don't want to make a mistake to give up the 1-goal lead. And so, like I said, is this analysis that I'm coming through, because it's almost like a defensive driving course for me, because I admitted on Monday, I said, look, I spent 2 years in therapy. And so for me, having that now gives me the chance to be almost like a defensive driving course and thinking where the other person is coming from, coming forward. And so I was looking at it from the perspective like this. If you've got that lead, then you don't want to make a mistake, because you don't want to let down those around you, because you've gotten to this point, first time in 370 minutes, I think, that you've scored something like 372, I think is the number. So you don't want to let those around you down. So you're going to try and hang on to what you got and not put yourself in a situation where you contribute to possibly giving up that equalizer, or contributing to a moment that eventually leads to that goal. But when you've got that 1-goal lead, and the more that you try and just to hang on and hang on and hang on at the edge of the cliff, like you're, Wile E. Coyote, maybe, there, sooner or later, the weight of hanging on to the edge of that cliff, Roadrunner hops onto the edge of the cliff, and you see the split, and then, the rock and everything happens that we've always seen in the cartoons. You knew that second goal was coming because of the possession numbers, the equalizer, I mean. You knew the equalizer was going to be coming eventually. You didn't know when, because of the possession numbers and because of the pressure that Nashville was putting up and putting up and putting up. And I think it contributes back to the idea of you're afraid of making that mistake that contributes to the equalizer. But because you were hanging on, it created the opportunity for the equalizer because of what you weren't doing, as opposed to what you can do. Like I said, does that philosophizing make any sense at all?
Yeah. And I think it kind of ties into kind of what I was saying earlier, where you have to have a plan. And like, as a team, as 11 guys on the field, you have to, whatever your plan is, do it. Like, stick to the plan.
Yeah.
And it never really felt like they all were on the same page with what they wanted to do. And because I see in the chat, everybody saying, like, these are all really good points. Atlanta has never been a park the bus team.
No.
But they acted like, some of them acted like they were parking the bus. And then other ones were still acting like they wanted to go play.
Yeah.
And then halftime came around, and it just got worse from that point. It really felt like I could give some leeway after the first goal, where, maybe there's some communication issues. Not everybody's on the same page. It really felt like Brad was just trying to slow the game down at that point.
And also at the tail end of the first half, where Click gets the yellow, and the administration of those kinds of fouls for the remainder of the match just seemed to be optional.
Yeah. Forget the handball.
Yeah. So, but you're trying to get to the half at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you've got the lead. Click gets the yellow. I'm looking at it as get to the half, get in the locker room, do what you got to do.
Yep.
Punt it up to you in the press box. Just get to the half.
Yeah.
Settle down, and then go out there for the second 45. That's how I was looking at it, in getting to the 45 and treating it. Okay, you got the goal, you got the lead. Then you had maybe another 10 minutes of navigating control. And then it was Nashville. Then you get the yellow, and I'm like, get to the half.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that. Like, get to the half, reset. Now that because you now have a lead at home for the first time in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So now your coaching staff in the locker room needs to say, all right, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to, figure out. And then you come back out and you implement that. But again, all 11 of the players that come back out of the locker room that step onto the pitch need to be on the same page. And it just never really felt like they got it. They never really felt like they came out with a plan, other than, we're going to halfway park the bus and defend, and then we'll try to bomb it long, which is also another thing Atlanta has never really done, and hope somebody comes away with it. And then nobody wants to win an aerial duel or a second ball. I say they don't want to. I'm being sarcastic, but they didn't. And then you're perpetually a turnover machine at that point. You're just giving the ball back to Nashville over and over and over again.
Forcing yourself to defend instead of slow the ball down, have possession, and build up and come forward.
Yeah, and because the thing is, like, Atlanta, Dial is trying to do his thing.
Yeah.
Atlanta is still, and I think Dial would just tell you this, like, he wants to build up and play through and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to being a defensive, maybe counterattacking team. But if you're gonna sit back and bend and bend and bend, you have to have an outlet going forward to try to hit on the counter. And every time there was a halfway opportunity to try to, break that pressure and send the ball forward to Latte Lath or Miggy, neither one of them are there, or the ball is not going to them. It's just cleared because you're panicking at that point. And I'm all for clearing the ball and sending it downfield when you're under a lot of pressure. But you got to try to break loose one of your guys that can outrun anybody else on the pitch. You got to give them a chance to hit on the counter if you're going to play that way. But if not, again, you had the lead, you control the tempo, send it back to Brad, pass it around, make Nashville run for it, and then you have a good enough team here to play through pressure. You do. Like, a lot of these players still are from the play out of the back Gonzalo Pineda era. And they're good enough to do it. Now, I mean, they might struggle against a press like the Red Bulls, but Nashville's not pressing like that, even on a good day. So just frustrate them a little bit and then go and then try to break loose your guys up top and go for the second one if you can. But to get stuck in that in-between moment where, like, half the players are like, we're gonna do this, and half the players are not, like, it wasn't well executed in any way, unfortunately.
Yeah, and so then you end up with the equalizer, and then you're trying to hang on from hanging on. You're trying to make sure that you can get that, you can hang on to that point and try and chase after opportunities for goal number two, and you look at, and I'm looking at some of the comments in the Twitch pitch, and this is I know it might have been taking a couple of days for folks to kind of remember what's going on, but this is where we make sure that Monday and Tuesday and even Wednesday, make sure that everything is out of your system as we start to gear towards Chicago and Thursday and Friday. And I mean, there are going to be, I would imagine, decisions that started with Ronnie Dyla and the coaching staff about what your starting 11 is going to look like. Obviously, the combination of Mateus Klick and Alexei Miranchuk as your 2 6s. I don't know. I think that probably with Miranchuk, you need him more as your midfield attacking 3 as opposed to one of your 6s, while the defensive numbers were there. And I know that the idea was, to help out defensively and give him more space to create as a point guard. I think that you probably ended up taking him away from what you were looking for in that matchup against Nashville, coming up against Chicago. I think that he has to be further afield than being one of those 2 6s in the basic 4-2-3-1 as we envision it from Ronnie Dyla.
Yeah, and I think you want Alexei higher up the pitch. Yeah. Like, I think there's been, like, a little bit, probably just the dialect of soccer, maybe a little bit of confusion. Like, I don't think Alexei Miranchuk should be played as a defensive midfielder,
right?
In any way. I don't think that's proper. Now, like, we use the term 6, 8, 10, blah blah blah. Like, he, to me, is more of that kind of box to box, like, forward facing central midfielder. The one that, it's the back line and the number 6's job, the actual defensive midfielder, to try to release the pressure, break it up to him, and then he is the one who then picks out where it goes from there.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them work how they need to work. And I mean, take away his lack of speed compared to other players, like, we get that. But, and yeah, Alex, that's like he's saying, box to box, all about legs, but you don't have to be the fastest. You just need to be able to run for 90 minutes.
Right.
But the good thing about Alexei is he does have the vision to quickly make passes, to, play through pressure, play around pressure, play over pressure, whatever. you need somebody back there, like I was talking about with Click and Jay earlier, that is going to give you kind of that break glass in case of emergency moment, to where if you do get played through or around, then you're not leaving both of your center backs and potentially Brooks and Pedro on an island
Well, and
outnumbered.
to your point, I think that this also reemphasizes how important Tristan Muyumba has been in
Yeah.
this Ronnie Dyla system, and not having him as a part of the system, knowing what Ronnie's looking for as someone who can be that second facilitator offensively when you need him to. And we all know that Tristan loves playing forward. But at the same time, when Tristan has to backtrack and help you out defensively, I think that this has also been the accent marks of when Tristan isn't in this lineup in its current iteration, how integral he has been to what Ronnie Dyla wants to do.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it. If you're going to play the way Ronnie Dyla wants to play, you have to have midfielders, or at least one of your two main midfielders have to have speed. And the only thing about Tristan, I think that's been the biggest frustration this season, is just the inconsistency. But I think if you take one aspect of the responsibility away from him and tell him, because they do have to work together. Whoever your two sixes or whatever you want to call them, whoever your two midfielders are, they have to be on the same page when you're trying to play through. And because it can't always be that, your one guy sits back and just waits while your other one is the one moving forward, because opposition will react to that. They'll figure it out, and then they're going to completely cut out your midfield, cut out the spine of your team, and then you're forced to play out wide. So you've got to be constantly moving in the midfield. You have to be constantly creating angles. So you need somebody that's going to, continue to run, but especially at that defensive option, you need somebody that has legs on them. They can really, really, turn it up a gear. And so with Tristan, if you can tell him, your main responsibility actually is as the defensive midfielder. Now, you play forward when the opportunity presents itself, sure, but you be there to help out the center backs, because we saw it a lot in the preseason where whoever was that number 6, that defensive midfielder, they dropped back as another center back at a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little bit of that has kind of fallen off lately. I haven't seen that as much kind of in the past 4, 5, 6 matches. And I don't know if that's Dyla trying something different or if it's just like a breakdown with the constant rotating,
Well,
midfield selection.
and to that particular point, and I've taken this from Jason, is that you want one more center back than they have striker. So if you're going up against a team like a Nashville, then you should be okay with your two center backs and having that 6, one of your defensive minded 6, come in and be your bracket. If it's a team that plays 2 up top and like a 4-4-2 or whatever you want to call it, with 2 strikers in the attack, then you're going to want that 6 to drop back literally and be that third center back to help you out there. So you've always got that man advantage. So I look at it that way when you're going back line of Atlanta United versus striker. You always want one more back there in your starting lineup to start, and then have individuals drift back from those 2 6s to help you out, either to bracket or to actually help defend.
Yeah, and I think this is also where it kind of becomes on there's a little bit of onus on the wing backs to kind of figure out how that chemistry and that cohesion is going to work, because Atlanta wants to play wide.
Yeah.
They do. They want to use their width. They want to use the speed on the width. But I think in the past, like before this year, we've seen kind of just this one-dimensional version where you just try to get it out wide and then move it up the pitch, and then you send in crosses and hope that something happens.
Yeah.
When Almada was here, he helped mitigate a lot of that, because if you could get the ball to Almada where he was at, he would make things happen down the middle.
Yeah, because of positional gravity, you'd have more than one defender drawn,
Exactly.
which means that someone's open and that person can sit there and continue things forward.
Yeah. And I think that's where having Miggy kind of in that space helps out, because positional gravity, like a guy with that kind of danger, he's going to draw in defenders naturally. So going back to playing through the middle, I mean, you always want to keep your numerical superiority, the many syllable phrase that we use a lot. Um, but in kind of that case of trying to build up, if you're having your number 6 or one of your midfielders kind of drop back, of course, that's the time when you want your wingbacks to get higher up the pitch because that's going to pull defenders away and it's just going to continue to create. But I think what we've seen a lot, no matter how they try to build up, is as the game progresses, there is less and less off the ball movement from everybody. And like in the beginning of this match, I've even tweeted about it. Everybody was moving in sync with each other, especially when Nashville was on the ball. It was very well disciplined. It was very well drilled. It looked pretty, and it was effective because they never really let Nashville have much of anything. And then when that fell off, it all fell off. You got to the point where there were players that were watching. It looked like the media match. Just players like watching the ball go by, and nobody's moving off the ball to create angles. And when that stops, everything stops.
And that goes back to Ronnie Dyla's points about he doesn't know if it's, physical, emotional, whatever's going on up here, especially when you've got that 1-goal lead. Tyler Pilgrim hanging out with us as he always does here with Scarves N Spikes as they get ready for the midweek nighttime show.
Yeah.
And that'll be tonight on the SNS YouTubes and all of their social medias. And you get to who's on with you tonight?
So we're working on a guest. I don't have anybody verified yet. It's just been one of those weeks, but it should be me, Tommy, Sydney.
Okay. Yeah. So Ache is out discovering stories and things.
He's out. Yeah. And he's also preparing to graduate. So
I've never heard of this term.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't know what this is. He's not allowed to take time off as he's preparing to graduate from Kennesaw State.
That's what I told him, but he ignored me.
Did you tell his dad this when he was in the press box?
Yes, yes, I did.
It's like Ache V.1, sir. He's not allowed to take time off and graduate. That's not how this plays.
Nope, he can't go anywhere.
No, it's like you got stuff to do.
Yeah.
I know that, like I said, as the week goes, we've got to get into our Oppo research for Chicago. You're looking at a team that will not have Chris Brady because he decided to go in studs up in the 36th minute last time out. And so Chicago played the purple team with 10, and you end up with a goalless draw. Jonathan Gall ended up playing the final 50 plus. I think 54 and 36 is 90. Yes. So Jonathan Gall, one of the supplementals, the 34-year-old hometown guy. I think he's probably going to be between the sticks. Chicago, they've given Greg Berhalter the keys. He is Bill Parcells. He is the guy who is the vice president, general manager. He is player personnel. He is head coach. He is the whole thing. He is Bill Parcells in Chicago. What are you anticipating after a goalless draw from Chicago and after them giving up 7 to Nashville? And they are the box. They are the box of Russell Stover's chocolates right now, man. You don't know.
Yeah, I was literally about to say that.
You don't know what you're getting out of Russell Stover's FC, otherwise known as Chicago Fire, right now.
Yeah, you genuinely have no idea. Which I'm going to make a dig here. It sounds like Berhalter. You just never know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
No offense, Greg, but I mean, yeah, I think it's one of those where you have to obviously look at the glaring elephant in the room, which is you're playing against a backup keeper.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to test him.
Shoot it. Yeah.
Period. You got to take some shots.
Shoot it.
Yep. And I don't care if it's, 25, 30 yards out.
Yeah.
If you have to, just take the freaking shots, man. So that's number one. Like, just go test him. Make him earn his spot that he got from a red card. But besides that, I mean, formationally, you try to look at Chicago and the way that they play, and it's all over the place. I mean, I think there's a type of identity there, but it can be picked apart so well. And I really do think this is a match where your guys like Latte Lath, your quick guys, where they're going to be able to get in behind. And if you play your cards right, and that's my biggest concern, is just can Atlanta come out with the right game plan and implement it and stick to it for 90 minutes and get back there and really, really test out the keeper. On the other side of the ball, I mean, Chicago's scoring goals. It's not that they're not. They're just giving up a ton too. So, I mean, I would say this has the chance to be a shootout, and it does.
Yeah.
But I think if excuse me, if Atlanta can go into this and try to just be a bit more disciplined than they've been in the past 4 or 5 matches,
Right.
then you can come out of this one. I really do think minimum a draw. I really do feel that way. And I know, like, going up to Chicago's always been a place that's really weirdly tough for Atlanta. But I think you can pull something out of this one. But if you go up there and you switch off at any point, I mean, you forget about it. You're done.
And I had it was Michael Head's question early on in our conversation. Michael brought into the Twitch pitch, big picture, third of the way through the season. Where is the hope? He was thinking that obviously the bringing back the Garth comment about being back, but where is the hope?
I think the hope is still there.
Yeah,
I do. I mean, I do think the team unfortunately does run the risk playing the way that they are right now of I'm not going to say the phrase like run them away because I don't think that's what it is. I just think it's not going to draw in the casuals, the way that maybe it did before. You start winning again and all that changes. But as far as the hope, I mean, that's the reason there's still hope, in my opinion. This is my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Is you have guys like Latte Lath, Miguel Almiron, Alexei Miranchuk, for all the crap that he's been given. He's still a good soccer player. He's just not fitting the way things are right now. Saba, who was the guy last year. I mean, it's not that you have a team, full of nobodies that can't do anything, that aren't coached well. You have a team full of talent that is either, again, opinion, being misused or just not living up to their full potential. And then you have a coach who I think just hasn't quite been able to figure it all out yet. And I mean, that's got to be fixed. That you've 11, 12 games in, almost 12 games in. Like, yeah, you need to start quickly getting whatever identity you're going to have for the rest of the season, because the time is running out for the excuses. The time is running out for, all of us to be able to say, as we analyze MLS on a weekly basis, for us to be able to say, oh, well, it's just the beginning of the season. It's not. No, we're third of the way
Yeah.
at this point. And so, though the tables are going to change massively between now and October, at least things are kind of starting to take shape, and you don't want to be stuck down at number 12 or 13 or whatever
Right.
for the rest of the season. But I do think that it is fixable because of the talent that you have on the pitch and off the pitch.
You could be LA.
You could be LA or Montreal.
Which one of those is knowing the injuries in Los Angeles and knowing the lack of playing at home for Montreal? Does one stand out more at 08-3 to you than the other?
I mean, the Galaxy for sure, just because they're coming off being MLS Cup champions. All through the preseason and the beginning of the season, I kept saying, and a lot of us kept saying, like, oh, well, once they, get these guys back, it'll be okay. But you've more or less got everybody back, except for Ricky Pooch. Obviously, it's the big one. But you have Marco Roy, like, you have one of the better midfielders traditionally, historically, in the world. And it's just not working. The thing about the Galaxy that's wild, though, is like they're creating opportunities, they're taking shots. They just have the worst luck. I mean, the drunk uncle game of the weekend this past weekend, that is insane to me. Like, how are you that unlucky?
Ugh.
And then on the other side of it, Montreal, like, we go back to them firing their coach at the beginning of the season. Shouldn't have done that. That was stupid, but whatever. We're not the ones in charge. I do feel like maybe they've got a few more excuses than the Galaxy does, because the Galaxy still has talent on their team. They're just not they're just not winning games.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you, I will answer Michael's question. He's like, "Where's the hope?" I am still optimistic that they will get things squared away. I know obviously you have to figure out formationally what it's going to look like. I know that Ronnie likes the 2-6s. Do you end up with, like we saw last time out? Does Miggy end up as more of a second striker, playing behind Latte Lot as opposed to off to the side to draw folks in and then get Latte Lot free? So I'm looking at it more. Yeah, I'm going to have a back four. Yeah, I'll have my 2-6s, and then the midfield is what it's going to be, and then you have Miggy and I don't know if I can do this in 3 dimensions or not, but so literally it's like so it's like this, like if you're looking at a graphic, so Latte Lot and then Miggy playing, Miggy playing behind as a second striker, and so Miggy can that way Miggy can go. Oh, there he goes. Yes, yeah. Get out the drawing board.
Here we go.
So basically, I think that maybe to give Miggy more freedom, you play him as the second striker, which is what we saw, and draw. There we go. Yes, Miggy. Yeah, and Latte Lot. Yeah, exactly. That is what we're staring at. And also, I mean, you're a good week out of being in the playoffs themselves, and there are a lot of folks right now in Major League Soccer. Yeah. So that's what you're kind of staring at.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're looking at Miranchuk as your point guard. You're looking at that. These are the things that you've got to figure out. But I'm thinking that, instead of on the wing, we saw Miggy as a second striker, gives him more latitude to create behind Latte Lot, working east to west. Latte Lot, everything goes in and you work the speed with Latte Lot working in from behind. But he hasn't quite had the chances to do that. So right now, the midfield combination is where we are. But for the hope, I've got it. Like I said, you have a good week, you start leapfrogging folks. And I think that it takes that one result. I think it legitimately takes that one result that you're staring at and gives you the notion of, okay, there's something here. And I think if you get that one solid win where everything is together, that you can show everybody that, hey, we know how to do this. We've known the entire time. Now we've implemented it the way that we want to. Let's build off of that. I think it's the one good result where you play that good 90 minutes where you can build off of that. I think that's the answer to the question.
Yeah, look at New England, who's apparently their get right game was the Atlanta one. But I mean, I felt like we were seconds away from Caleb Porter being fired.
Yeah, we were. I would agree.
And now they figured it out, and then I think they figured out that I talked about it on MLS Monday, but like, not to make this long.
No, you're all right.
You have a team that was halfway decent defensively. They weren't really letting in a lot of goals. They just couldn't score, and they were, giving up one and losing. They've kept the defensive capabilities, but they've got Carlos Hill working. They've got guys feeding him. And then at the end of the day, they're finishing chances and not allowing anything else in. So I think they figured out how they want to play or how they best play. Maybe they don't want to play that way, but they're doing it. And I want to play the way that's going to win. So if I'm them, I'm going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Cincinnati was kind of off to a weird start, and they've kind of gotten it under control. Not that they were bad ever, but I mean, it's all a matter of just you got to figure out what works because something is going to work with this team. Yeah. Something is going to work. Mm-hmm. You just got to figure out what it is.
All right. So what's going on? When? Who? What? Where tonight?
7:00 tonight. We got our show. It'll be me, Tommy Sidney, and more than likely a guest. I'm just not quite sure who yet from MLS.
Right.
It's just been one of those weeks where things kind of gotten kicked back. But
sure. Yeah, I'm with you.
7:00. This weekend, I will be we'll be doing our normal stuff on Saturday for the Chicago match.
Right.
But I have birthday stuff to do this weekend for my oldest. Going to see Thunderbolts / the other name if you haven't seen it or whatever.
Sure.
And then
the
Sunday,
old man will take your word for it. Yes.
Yeah. And then Sunday, I'm going to be at the Benz.
Well, there you go.
Cool. For the Post Malone and Jelly Roll concert.
Okay. Please enjoy and give us a report card when you know stuff. As always,
my first time in the Benz, not for anything related to soccer.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, we need a report card next week.
I will let you know.
All right. Be good, my friend. Good to see you.
See y'all. Appreciate it.
There goes Tyler. Hot tag. Bring in Dylan. Find out what's going on in the rest of Major League Soccer. So first and foremost, sir, your Newcastle, they're hanging in there. They're doing their thing. They're in the European spots. But they're in that massive humanity from 3 to 7. Only a couple matches to go. Where's the are you angst laden? Are you confident? Where are you with your Newcastle?
Tough matches ahead. A huge 6-pointer against the Blues coming up on Sunday morning.
Woo.
Which I will not. I mean, it's the godforsaken 7 a.m. slot. And I've got MLS the night before, so that's not happening.
Oh no!
I know.
But I mean, you can't at least go back and rewind it and take a peek at it. And you sit there and it's like, yeah, okay.
I mean, yeah, I have some thing on my phone, did an update, and now I get like live time scores with possessions and all kinds of fun stuff. And so yeah, I don't know if I can keep it hidden necessarily, but
oh, I know you can.
And you know what? Good for Tyler, by the way, because I'd imagine it'll be probably the first time he leaves the Benz this year, not like cursing and screaming about what he saw.
Yeah, I mean that's probably true, unless you're a fan of the opposition. When you look at Atlanta United and the conversations that you have in the Northeast and on the national level, what are the talking points? Is it more questions? Is it what is the national / Northeastern vibe right now about Atlanta United here a third of the way through the season?
Yeah, it's not good. All right. I mean, it's a team. Look, when you spend the way that they've spent, you should be better, right? Like, I mean, that's in a similar fashion, right? Like Austin spent like 30 million or whatever it is on their forwards and their attackers, and they can't score goals.
Yeah, so we went into that where OG and Brandon Vasquez leading scorers right now for Austin.
So, it's and for Atlanta, like, look, if you're I don't know what other team you want to compare it to, but like if you were a team that is having the struggles that Atlanta has and you don't have the personnel, you're like, all right, we just need to get players, right? But you have players.
Yeah.
So, and that's the frustrating part. It's getting, I guess, that cohesion among the players you have, figuring out the right spots.
Mm-hmm.
You would hope, what is it, 11 games now, that would have been figured out by now.
Yeah.
And sometimes, maybe the lesson here, and I think it's too early for this, but maybe sometimes it's not all about the Benjamins, right? Like you need, I don't know. Like, I mean, you heard Dax McCarty, and again, he was in that locker room. So I think his word speaks louder than most, talking about the leadership component, right?
Yeah.
Where's the Jeff Laurentowicz in that room, right? Where's the Michael Parkhurst in that room?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Guzan, I suppose, but it's hard to be a leader as the goalie.
Right.
So I don't know where that leadership is coming. I don't know who in that locker room is like, throwing the Gatorade thing to the floor and being like, what's going on? Or knocking over all the post-match rice.
The arroz con pollo. I mean, right now you're seeing it from one of our 19-year-old center backs in Noah Cobb, who he knows, he's come up through the academy system. So he knows what it's like. And I know that a lot of folks that will watch us, listen to us, what have you, they look at Noah and sit there and go, future captain right there, because of what Noah says when he's asked about things in post-match interviews, because he's lived and breathed and died with the Crest ever since he walked in, coming in from the academy system to his minutes on the first team.
But that's telling that it's a 19-year-old coming up through the system who's got the answers, who's got to answer the questions in front of the press, right? Who's stepping up and taking accountability.
Yeah, and it shouldn't
be that case.
It was 2 weeks ago when it was Noah and Jay Fortune, the name that Dax McCarty has been alluding to as one of the mandatory starters in your midfield that you're seeing so far with Atlanta United. I asked Tyler this in the first hour. Which one, when you look at Montreal and LAG, out of the blocks, and Michael Head in our Twitch pitch, one of our A-listers, he has said that, yeah, they started with their first 7 away from home, and then they dismissed a coach. And so, not necessarily, and the lack of patience shown by Joey Saputo, which is like, okay, the sun rises, you pay taxes in April, and Joey Saputo fires a coach. Death and taxes and Joey Saputo pretty much are the way things are in Montreal. How stunning is it for you to see what's going on with LAG, who are 08?
He's like the George Steinbrenner of
yeah, he is.
of MLS owners.
He is. I don't know who the George Costanza would be in that organization currently, just kind of hiding under his desk and making the bed. But how shocking is it that one player seems to be making this much of a difference in LAG, considering they don't have Ricky Puig? They started the season with Joseph Paintsel injured. He's back. So Gabriel Peck was the one. Marco Royce was out.
He's back and now injured.
Yeah, now he's back and injured as he left, and Paintsel left the last match with dings, and we don't know how dinged they are. But how shocking is this start for you from LAG?
So you were starting down, I guess, like which is more shocking?
And kind of, sort of. But then I looked at Joey's.
Certainly, it's LA. Yeah,
I'm like, yeah,
because they were the team, coming off a championship, right? And looking like that great championship team, and everyone, the whole story about them was, all right, well, let's just let them get through the early portion of the season, and then in the summer, Ricky Puig comes back, and then they're fine.
Yeah.
Well, they've dug themselves so big of a hole, like they have, just to even make the playoffs at this point, it would seem it would take some sort of a miracle. So the wheels falling off there are certainly, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people when they saw the makeup, and even some of the players they lost, were like, maybe LAG aren't going to be the same, but they're still, I don't know, top tier type of team, right?
Yeah.
And they're battling it out in that spoon spoon race with Montreal.
And the only difference right now is that Montreal has scored 3 less goals than they have at 08-3. Galaxy have scored 8 goals in 11. They've given up 21. They're at a minus 13 in goal difference. And you look at Montreal 08-3, they've only scored 5. Toronto, it's like, north of the border, it's where all the problems are, except over in the west with Vancouver.
Yeah, for sure.
Toronto and Robin Fraser, by all accounts, he's a fantastic coach and a great guy, but he is stuck in a situation right now where I don't think Toronto knows who they are. They're trying to jettison a lot of their high-priced talent, but outside of the high-priced talent, you're kind of going, what are you staring at? And then you still have everybody, from Atlanta on up. If you have a good week, you're into the playoff picture. Caleb Porter makes a formation change. They've caught fire when we were kicking dirt on Caleb Porter, and now they're 9. Red Bulls, they beat Colorado Springs last night in Open Cup, but they're a point out. Chicago's in a rebuild. DC United, they won last night in Open Cup with Troy Lesesne, and I figured after what happened in San Jose that, Troy Lesesne and players would not have been allowed on the plane after what happened. It's like, nope. It's like the Lane Kiffin firing at USC. Pat Hayden just does it on the tarmac, and then the plane takes off and heads back to Los Angeles.
Didn't they have a Gerard Gallant too in the NHL? Like,
yeah.
There was like a picture of him like getting an Uber or something with all his bags.
They're like, hey. So I mean, you've got a lot of the traditional names up top in the East right now, a third of the way through the year. Columbus and Philly and Cincy, Messi and friends have a match in hand. So the fact that they're 3 points back, I still think that Messi and friends have been proven human in a couple of points, even though they've lost only once in Major League Soccer in the Eastern Conference. Charlotte has a tendency to complain probably more than they should, considering Wilf Zaha went out on social media and he's like, don't clap back at me.
Yeah, that was bizarre. Like, I don't, I'm not in Charlotte, right? Like, it felt so so early in the season to to bring that noise. Like,
yeah.
it's not like the 40,000 plus or whatever you have at the bank are chanting like Zaha out or something. Like,
Yeah, Zaha blanks,
super sensitive.
Yeah, and then Dean Smith, having a gig in Charlotte, not that Dean Smith, may basketball fans rest his soul, but when you've got a guy named Dean Smith in Charlotte, and then now Dean Smith has now started going to complaining about referees, and he's gone down that track now, and he's starting to clap back. It's like, well, welcome to Major League Soccer, and welcome to Major League Soccer in the South, sir. Welcome aboard. How are you?
Yeah, that's not going to get you anywhere.
No,
sure.
no, it is not. And so,
but listen, credit goes back. You mentioning, right? Credit to Caleb Porterman. Like, to be fair, coaches, like players, have egos, right? Some bigger than others. And he could have stuck to his guns and said, "This is who we are. Let's figure it out." If the players I have on the field can't play the way that I want, we'll get new players.
Mm-hmm.
But he recognized the necessity to change the way that he wants to play.
Yeah.
And he's gotten results out of it, right? Like, I mean, look, if you want to go glass half empty, has the opposition been really, really good that they've played? No, not really. But they have cleaned it up defensively. And they've allowed Carlos Heel to do what he does best, which is roam and get free and just be a creative force.
Roam, be free. Be free, Carlos Heel.
That's it. That's it. Let him be free like a butterfly.
Yes. Be free.
So we know the combination of the defensive solidity and the free roaming Heel has resulted in 4 straight wins, right? Like, so super impressive by them for sure.
Well, and you look at the numbers, it's like it's 1-0, it's 1-1. It's not the glossy stuff. They've only scored 9 goals. And I mean, you take obviously the first couple of matches where they were throwing up clunkers, and you end up with they've only scored 9 goals in 10 matches. But at the same time, they've only given up 7. So it's one of the best defenses that we've seen so far, regardless of schedule, in not allowing goals. And you've scored enough to get you by. And so right now you're slightly above 500 and you're north of the playoff bar. So you tip your hat to the adjustment so far from what we've seen, even though it's not it ain't glossy. And
they're not going to get into they're not getting into that top tier of the East anytime soon either.
Yeah, so
like that's a hard. Like you mentioned, Miami, Columbus, Cincinnati. Like those are that's a tough. Like I wouldn't have Charlotte up there. I think they're a second tier right now.
Yeah.
Maybe top of that second tier, but New England is probably they're in that second tier, but I think they're a little bit middle to towards the top of that.
Has Philly surprised you with Bradley Carnell coming in as Red Bull's light and doing what they're doing?
100%, especially when they looked like they were just having a yard sale out there, just selling off all their parts and trying to sell some lemonade while they're at it, or get as much money as you can. But yeah, no, absolutely. Now, like any energy drink model, is it sustainable, right? Like the beverage that we've come to know about energy drink. What do energy drinks do, right? Like they give you that energy for a certain amount of time, and then it's then you crash, right? So whether your energy drink is for you Mountain Dew or something with a little more caffeine in it, like a Red Bull, but that's So is that sustainable through the season? But to this point, 100%. You know, like I would have had them either below the line or right near the line or somewhere around there, you know, trying to keep their head above water at this point, and they far exceeded what I thought. And you know what? I think a big credit needs to go to Carnell then, right? Like he was an interim in New York. He goes to St. Louis, has success there, but he's jettisoned. And now he's found new life there, and he's proven, you know, like, look, you know, that he's a quality coach.
Mm-hmm. And so we've seen that so far, and just looking at the sheer offensive numbers that you see out of Philadelphia, you sit there and you go, what? You know, Ty Barabo getting it's like, what have you done with Philly's offense, and what is this Philly's offense that we're staring at here, where they're 21 goals, averaging 2 a match, only giving up 10 with Blake and Andrew, with Blake and Rick in net. So, I mean, right now Philly's hanging around to stay, but I know that you're looking at the post energy drink consumption crash, because there's going to be that time where you're going to have to do things philosophically, and is it sustainable over a full 34 matches? Dylan Butler, MLSsoccer.com, dropping by, talking about everything going on in MLS, because if he was at MLSsoccer.com and we were talking about something entirely different, then that might be an issue. I mean, then you look at the West, and I know that we were all kicking dirt on Vancouver. You get rid of Annie Sartini, but now I think that at the same time you give Sartini his props for what he assembled, and then Jesper Sorensen, who has come in now, and you're still rolling and rolling and rolling. You've only lost once so far this season in your first 11. You're going all the way to the end of the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, and you're still trotting out, for the most part, you're trotting out your same starting 11 each and every single time. You have not lost. Your one loss came at home, where you are 5-1 this year. Vancouver, for me, we mentioned Philadelphia being a surprise in the Eastern Conference. I think Vancouver is a surprise in the Western Conference, to the extent with where they are right now, 7 points clear of everybody else, but a shocker out of the blocks with them, that they have been able to accomplish all of this stuff under a new coach with a philosophy, with pretty much most of the same players from last year.
And with injuries, and with CONCACAF, right? Like, these are not things that are supposed to happen.
Yes,
for an MLS team.
One
right?
of these things is not like the other.
No. So yeah, huge credit, Sorensen. I mean, you know, if it was, it's not, but if it was award season, he would have to be certainly the coach of the year.
Yeah.
And you probably can, you know, you'd have a shout for maybe 3 different best 11 type guys, right, on that team. With White, you know, with Blackman, with even Vite. Now, you know me, like we've had this conversation, you know, every week for a few years, and I've been on that Vancouver train for a while, but not to this extent. I'm absolutely not saying I saw this at all. I thought they were a very good team. I liked their parts. I was worried, like most, when Sartini left.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I didn't know anything about Sorensen. But for sure, for them to do what they've done, Ryan Gauld now, you know, who I thought for so long was one of the most underrated players in the league. Brian White, the same. It's pretty funny now, like with White scoring the way that he's scoring in multiple competitions, like, you know, you start to get into that best if you're Vancouver or worst if you're the Red Bulls trades of all time kind of is talks, right? Because since Brian White left, and what was that? Was it 400,000? I think it was.
All right, hang on. So I will search Brian White to Vancouver transaction.
When I say it's like 400,000 GAM.
Okay. So yes, you were correct, sir. It is traded in June of 2021 to thank you, Brian. 400,000 in GAM, and you could also, if you're Red Bulls, receive an additional 100,000 if White meets certain performance-based metrics. Of course, this was also
has
6 dated June 2nd of 2021. Don't know what the expiration date was on those performance-based metrics, but if
well, he was doing it from the very beginning, though. I mean, like he and that's the thing, right? Like who's been no one. It's been a revolving door at that position for the Red Bulls since he left.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't found that guy. White, I go back, that was when I was like regularly covering the Red Bulls. And, if you remember, he was the guy filling in for BWP, right? Like BWP was injured his last year with Red Bulls, and Brian White came in, and, just that hardworking Jersey kid, and just had a nose for goal, and but just severely underrated. And now, all he does is score goals in a variety of ways in different competitions as well. So huge credit to Vancouver. It's actually funny because we're getting close to like rivalry week in MLS, and it made me think the other day about Cascadia, and how many years now has the Cascadia conversation been only Seattle and Portland, right? Like Vancouver's been like that other, like the little brother on the side.
Yeah,
Like,
Vancouver,
yeah, you're not with us, go play in the sand over there.
Go sit over at the small table in the in the foyer while you eat.
Yeah, exactly. And now they're at the big table, right? Like, and I think, and Portland's starting to play better, and Seattle's starting to play better. So I think a lot of heat on Cascadia this year. I think that's going to be a lot of fun between the three of those.
8 goals allowed so far this season by Vancouver. Takaoka right now, he's going to be in the discussion, obviously, for Golden Glove. With their defense, 8-1-2 out of the blocks, goal difference of plus 14, scored 22 and only given up 8. Minnesota, speaking of giving up possession, Minnesota thinks the ball's got cooties, and Eric Ramsey doesn't want it. He's just like, nah, they're not feeling it. And so Minnesota, I think they had possession against Austin a third of the time, and insert Austin joke here. But you end up with a 3-0 win on your chances. And we talked literally at the beginning of our conversation this week, we were talking about Austin and OG being the second leading goal scorer for Austin. And you've dropped all that money on the 3 up top with Bukhari, Uzuni, and U.S. Open Cup hero Brandon Vasquez down here in Atlanta. And you've got 4 goals from 3 dudes who you've dropped, I want to say, 25 million on, and bringing the 3 of them in. And it right now just is not happening under Nico Estevez. And literally, you're like, yikes! You've only scored 7 goals in 11 matches this year. You've given up almost twice as many. Just think about how Austin would be if they didn't have Brad Stuver. And
and we saw the worst of him this past weekend with a rare howler from him. But it's funny, right? Like, so the inverse is here. All the heat on Cascadia.
Yeah.
Copa Tejas is not so much. It's like you guys want to win this? Nah, hey, we're good. How about you guys? Maybe. Well, I'm not sure.
Oh, well, so here's how, since you mentioned Copa Tejas. All right, so here we are. Austin's at 5-5-1. 11. They are at 16 points. They're in 6th. Dallas 4-4-3, 1-3 at home, by the way, which to me, that's a shocker. Maybe it's the construction that, all of the
loud noises happening during the match.
Loud noises. It literally, the sawdust coming from the far side and everything.
You guys keep it down over there.
Exactly. We're trying to work. And then Houston at 2-5-4, and Benny Ball, they're at -6, and they're next to last, but they're in that gaggle at 10 points. And, once again, everybody is within, short of the team at the bottom, LAG, and short of the team at the bottom, Montreal. Right now, if you get a good week together, you're in the playoff picture. And Copa Tejas,
and we're going to have a double week coming up just past match day 12. So,
and so Austin 6, Dallas at 9, Houston at 14. To your point, Copa Tejas is just kind of like, maybe a little later. Just but not right now. Just not feeling it. It's just the
you know what I've been a fan of for a while, and I think it's like,
Copa,
well, what's that?
Copa Tejas? Are you a fan of Copa Tejas?
No, no. We've spoken a few times about the Canadian Classique, although not so much this year.
Not so much.
But Rocky Mountain Cup for me has always delivered. Like, that's a fun one.
Yeah,
for sure. Like, that's kind of like a low key, everyone, Traffico, sure, and but yeah, like Rocky Mountain Cup always in the weirdest ways, like just always delivers a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of expansion, by the way, as two hockey guys, it is now officially the Utah Mammoth, and I like the black sweater for the Utah Mammoth. That's very, very.
I didn't see that, but I'm seeing it now on your phone, and I like the Mammoth. That's a good.
Just released. They are the Utah Mammoth apparently now, according to Greg Wyshynski as of about a half hour ago. San Diego, like I said, Minnesota thinks the ball's got cooties. They don't want it, but right now possession numbers don't care because if you're second in the ladder, that's all that matters in the West. San Diego, I thought they regressed to the mean a little bit. I think they played better without Chucky Lozano. And they're now that Chucky is back, you're fourth right now ahead of LAFC. And Seattle probably, with all of their injuries, they got to figure out how to navigate Jordan Morris. We'll find out more about that tomorrow. When you look at the rest of the West, Bruce Arena, you don't know which San Jose you're getting on a daily basis.
They might be the most fun watch. Like if you're a neutral like we are.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be up anyway, they're the most fun watch out there, man, because they just play drunk soccer.
Yes.
Like, it's just that's like a beer league hockey game every week. They're just going out there, they're scoring goals, they're giving up goals. Like,
yes, I mean they have the best offense in Major League Soccer at 24 goals scored, and I'm counting to see how many teams have given up more goals. 2, let's see, 3, 4. So they have the 5th worst defense. So that puts them at 24th, 25th in Major League Soccer in defense, but they're number 1 in offense. And so that's what you're getting with all of these folks that have been thrown together, the island of misfit offense in San Jose. And
like if you're a fan of the Quakes, I'm sure you're just banging your head against the wall every single match. Like
you're like, Bruce Arena was supposed to give us all of this stuff. And he's like, well, I've given you all this stuff. We're the Revs West and we have all of this offense, but you're giving up so damn many goals. Yeah, but we're scoring a lot. I mean, that's the crazy part with San Jose right now. Kansas City has actually found their sea legs a little bit under Kerry Z, where they were at the bottom and they were kind of trying to figure out how to get rid of the cement shoes, and they kind of done that over the last couple of weeks. We mentioned what happened with this week in MLS history, and I think Maya Yoshida face is probably going to turn into either a new GIF or a new meme going forward. So not even a shot on target, Maya Yoshida and OG, and you come up with 3 points, but that's what it takes sometimes.
whatever, by any means.
Any means necessary. Exactly. All right. So, my friend, what's going on with you this weekend? And I know that since you apparently from the early discussions, it sounds like you've got MLS After Dark, so you can't hang around for the earlies on Sunday involving your beloved Newcastle. What's going on?
Yeah, I got well, pray for me first tonight because I have 11 matches on the docket.
Oh, you're Mr. Open Cup?
I am.
Oh.
I am.
Oh.
11 on the slate, I think, tonight.
Wow.
Involving MLS teams.
Yes, we will discuss those coming up after your departure, sir. But considering that last night was chalk, even though it was scary for some folks, tonight might be chaos.
Oh, 100%. I think especially, I don't have it in front of me, but I think especially later in the night.
Sacramento, San Jose, Phoenix, and Houston. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a good chance. for some cup sets, if you will.
Yeah, and Lou City hosting Minnesota United early on. I think that one might have Danny Cruz v. Eric Ramsey. I think that one might be interesting. But no, that's you might have some stuff early, might have some chaos late, but no. So okay. So you've got the whole Open Cup
solo. I'm just sitting here with 11 different matches happening.
How are you going to watch 11 matches, sir? How many can you have up?
Well, I mean, how many are at the same time, right? Like,
well, let's see. All right, so 1 at 7, 4 at 7:30, 3 at 8, 1 at 8:30, 1 at 10, and 1 at 10:30. So it's early on for chaos.
And between us, the Knicks are also playing. So
I was not aware of this. So I'm locked into the magic of the Open Cup. It's a rare night off from high school because we had the quarterfinal state quarters last night.
Oh, wow.
I have the semifinals tomorrow and Friday, and then the state championships are next week. So it is a rare midweek makeup day where nothing has to be made up. And so
yeah, I had my 5 lacrosse games last week. Just one coming up on Saturday. But it's a good one. It's a fun one. Just wanted to shout this out a little bit. Manhasset, where a guy named Jim Brown once played lacrosse. He was okay.
I heard of him, yeah.
Against Chaminade, it's the annual Reegs Rock, it is called. Named after Jimmy Regan. He was a Manhasset resident. He wore number 19 for Chaminade, went on and played at Duke. Was like a Wall Street guy. 9/11 happens. Said, I got to get out of this suit. He put on a superhero uniform, went to be an Army Ranger, where he ultimately, gave his life for this country. So every year, the town that he lived in, Manhasset, and their team take on the high school that he went to, Chaminade. Every year there's a player who wears 19 in his honor for Chaminade. So it's a really cool thing to keep him alive and his memory alive. And, for the Army Rangers Lead the Way Foundation as well. So it's good stuff.
Varsity Media on the YouTubes?
Yes, it will be 4:00 on Saturday.
Awesome. Well, get your rest, get your nap in.
That happened.
Yeah, because of the magic of the Open Cup tonight. As always, my friend, great to see you. Don't be a stranger. Drop in whenever because you got the keys to the kingdom and the garage door opener, so you know how to get in the house.
Yeah, cheers.
All right, there he goes. That's Dylan. So Dylan is going to go rest up because he's got the magic of the Open Cup tonight. Speaking of the magic of the Open Cup, let's go over our juice boxes and our surprises that we think may happen. Last night, just to give you an idea about what went down, it was fairly chalkish, but it was scary at times because Charlotte decided that they wanted to rotate, and it almost turned out to be catastrophic. So the lineup last night for them in an eventual 4-1 win. It was an eventual 4-1 win, but it took them north of 90 minutes to get there. Tied at 1 after 90, North Carolina FC did not score in the following 30. But here's the lineup that Charlotte decided to tempt fate with last night. And obviously, when you get to tempt fate with somebody like Patrick Adjumong, that's never a bad thing. So the lineup once again, David Bingham started in net last night. Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy, Andrew Privet, Bill Tuiloma, who wore the captain's armband, Nick Scardina, Jibril Diani, Eric Williamson, Yuri Tavares, Tiger Smalls, Eden Toklamati, and Kerwin Vargas. That was your starting lineup last night for Dean Smith and Charlotte. That was how much you thought you could handle in North Carolina FC. Your bench, Liel Abada, Patrick Adjumong, Brent Bronico, Marks Neely, Petkovic, and Tim Reen. You had a 7-person bench last night in Open Cup. So you had 18, including a backup keeper. But your starting lineup last night did not include your number one keeper. Bingham, Marshall-Ruddy, Privet, Tuiloma, Scardina, Diani, Williamson, Yuri Tavares, Tiger Smalls, Eden Toklamati, and Kerwin Vargas. And you had to bring in Patrick Ajimong to help you out in that final 30 minutes to get the Duke. You tempted fate, sir. You almost flew too close to the sun. You almost flew too close to the sun. You ended up getting the win, took extra time to do it. You won 4-1. 90-minute draw was a plus 238. DC United, I guess, Dell, here's the conversation for Open Cup. So if you feel compelled to turn away and hit mute, feel free. DC United beat Charleston. You can see Dell's comments in the Twitch pitch about how they played better than DC. DC was a plus 262 on the 90-minute draw. So either way. Nashville scored early in the first half. They won 1-0 at Geodis against Chattanooga Red Wolves. Chattanooga Red Wolves had a red, so they played most of the match with 10. Nashville did just enough to win. Red Bulls, as we figured, if they scored early, it was not going to be a problem. It was not. They beat Switchbacks at a plus 106 4-1. Then the chaos that happened late last night was at Starfire, as we anticipated. And it was almost what we anticipating was going to happen. 1-0 lead for Portland. Second half, Tacoma Defiant scores twice in 3 minutes to take a 2-1 lead. Then late, you get an equalizer, and then you get another goal for Portland before they were done. Portland wins at 3-2 at a minus 312, but it goes a little deeper than that. After the match, catching up with the head coach of Tacoma Defiance, Hervé Diaz, here are his comments about the match in and of itself, and this comes from our friends at Sounder at Heart, and we'll talk to our buddy Nico Moreno more about this tomorrow. But here's what happened after the match, post-match comments from Tacoma Defiance head coach Hervé Diaz.
See, maybe go forward with what happened.
Well, no, I mean, I'm going to speak to Wade and Henry. I'm like, they have to have a conversation. Okay, yes, they can change the result, but every single time we have that riff, we have the same problem. So it is what it is.
You guys have experienced that with that guy in the past?
We've had experiences with this. So when he was a center ref, we knew that we weren't going to get a lot of calls. And as we saw today, we didn't get a lot of calls either. So it is what it is.
Obviously, an MLS Next Pro team playing against an MLS team. They fielded a lot of MLS guys. The level of competition is a tough one. I think looking particular at your two center backs, two young 18-year-old guys against Kevin Kelsey, who was a big money signing for Cincinnati before he came to the Timbers. How did you feel like your guys stacked up against him?
Well, I'll tell you what Kevin told me after the game when he came and shook my hand. He said, hey, don't be discouraged by that. Your team is very, very good. And he felt it because most of the game he didn't do anything. He only showed up for the penalty, and he's a big-time striker. Like, I'm so proud of my guys. It's not even... We were so good in that game. But we just fell a little bit short, and that happens with youth, right? There's a little bit of inconsistency sometimes in the game. We should have scored 2 goals in the first half. That second goal shouldn't have gone in. That's what we're going to analyze.
Hervé Diaz, the head coach of Tacoma Defiance. And if you watched the match, there was a handball call late that would have given Tacoma another goal on the board, or the opportunity with a handball in the box, another handball that would have given them a chance to get another goal from the spot that could have changed game state and the approach in the final 15 minutes or so. Could have gone an extra 30. It did not. You get the win for Portland. Substitution comes in, scores with 10 to go to tie it up, and then they end up with yet another goal on the board, and it ends up as a 3-2 win over Tacoma Defiance at Starfire in the round of 32. It was Gabe Guerra scoring in the 81st. Kevin Kelsey scored at 90+4 after Osais de Rosario and Georgie Munungu scored 2 goals in 3 minutes to go from 1-0 down to 2-1 up. Defiance had the lead, then Guerra and Kelsey score to make it. By the time it was over, Servando Berna was the gentleman in question for Hervé Diaz, the head coach for Defiance. So Servando Berna has a bit of a history with the folks in the Pacific Northwest. So at Starfire last night, it was a win for Portland on a come-from-behind win. Literally, and I don't quite think this is correct, considering that they have the shots and shots on goal being equal to the final score, and the total number of passes in the game 7 for both teams. So I'm going to have to go and dig up some numbers and see. But, yeah, total passes, 7 total. And Tacoma Defiance had only 4 passes in the entire match, and they completed them all. Whereas Portland went 2 for 3. I don't quite think that's statistically correct. So advancing, it was Charlotte, D.C., Nashville, Red Bulls, Portland. So tonight in the Open Cup, and once again, you can catch all of this on Paramount Plus. We'll go through what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it coming up in a bit. 7 o'clock, Riverhounds hosting NYC. NYC's favored at a -106. This really hasn't changed a whole lot. Riverhounds are a +254. 90-minute draws a +243. Anticipate Bob Lilly yelling. One of the cup sets that we had circled for a possible 7:30, Lou City and Minnesota United. Lou City is a -196. 90-minute draws a +234. Minnesota United's a +120 at Lynn Family. I could see this one turning late. I could see it going the extra 30. Union hosting Indy 11 at a -294. That number has grown. Indy 11's number has grown as well to a +621 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Draw is a +391. Rhode Island FC anticipating another sellout crowd of around 10,500 tonight as they host the Revs and Open Cup. Keep an eye on Michael Parkhurst's social media to see if he is up there for that one. Rhode Island's a +141. Your draw's a +225, and the Revs are a +174. Tampa Bay and Orlando City. Tampa Bay is a +300. And once again, Tampa Bay is still trying to get their sea legs about them. And this one being played at Al Lang. 7:30 kick against the purple team. Tampa Bay a +300, draws +250. Purple team's a -123. 8 o'clock, Chicago Fire a -152. Draws a +279. Detroit City is a +354. And that matchup is played at SeatGeek in Bridgeview. So I don't know how many are making the trip from Hamtramck to Bridgeview. It may not be a big crowd tonight. That might help Detroit City. And remember, keep an eye on the Chicago lineup as they get ready for the matchup with Atlanta coming up this weekend, playing midweek weekend. Also on the board, FC Dallas hosting AV Alta out of USL League One. FC Dallas a -769. Your draws a +660, and your AV Alta outright is a +1516 in the juice boxes for the visitors. St. Louis City SC taking on Los Bujos, the Murder Owls of Union Omaha. Union Omaha is a +869. Keep an eye on this one, especially for the 90-minute draw, which is a +380. We all know they're giant killers. I don't know if they'll do it by the end of the night, but I could see it going north of 90 minutes. All caps are -345. 8:30, Austin at Q2 is hosting El Paso Locomotive. Austin is a -204. Draws a +319. El Paso is a +458. Austin not having much offense might be the saving grace here for El Paso to take it north of 90 minutes. You have two very defensive-minded clubs. So we'll see what happens when they cross paths at Q2. Like I said, wouldn't be surprised if it was 1-0 Austin. Also wouldn't be surprised if it took more than 90 minutes. Then the two late ones that are cup set ideas. Phoenix hosting Houston at the corner of 38th and Washington in Phoenix. Phoenix is a +294. Houston is a -125. Your draws a +257. Then your late one at 10:30, the other cup set possibility at Hard Health, Sacramento hosting San Jose. I want to see what the San Jose lineup looks like. At a -145. 90-minute draws a +276. Sacramento is a +334. I think by the end of it, I think San Jose gets the win. Might not necessarily be the offensive shootout that you're looking for. I want to see what San Jose's starting 11 looks like. But last night, you had some teams take some assumed risk in the tournament, like Charlotte. starting a completely rotated starting 11 with some help on the bench, and it almost cost them. So they have advanced to the round of 16. You have the 3, 6, 9, 11 matches tonight compared to the 5 yesterday. So 16, the field will be 16 and pared down to it by the time the night is over, say in a perfect world around 12:30, 1:45 in the morning Eastern time. If there are any cup sets, we'll try and track some folks down for tomorrow. Just to let you know, once again, tomorrow, hour number 1 is us. We go over what happened here in Open Cup and everything else that's on your mind. We're tracking down some Oppo research for Chicago. We also should be having our standard Friday 10 o'clock guest to discuss things from a league-wide perspective and a league-wide preview. Nino and Nico are going to join us in hour number 2 tomorrow. Nino Damas is going to talk about what happened in the Champions League yesterday, the 7-6 aggregate. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Portugal because there are some stories in Portugal. You know how we've been ishing on Boa Vista? The relegation battle in Portugal, and it's part of the matches that Nino calls on Goal TV. The relegation battle has turned insane. And apparently there is a club that has a worse public perception than Boa Vista. And, you know, we've been ishing on Boa Vista a lot. And actually, I almost said the word. We've been ishing on them a lot. And apparently there's a club that's a part of that relegation battle that is worse. I didn't think that was possible, but one might be worse. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss Champions League. We'll discuss Libertadores and all of that tomorrow with Nino Torres from Goal TV at 10 o'clock. Nico Moreno joining us. We'll talk about what we heard from Tacoma Defiance there, post-match going up against Portland at Starfire, plus everything else that's on his mind as we get you ready for the weekend. And like I said, we are efforting Oppo research on Chicago Fire from one of their play-by-play voices, and hopefully we can catch up with them before the end of the week and get you ready for Chicago Fire and Atlanta United coming up this weekend at the Spaceship on the lakefront there in Chicago. So that was what happened yesterday in Open Cup. That's what could happen today in Open Cup. And since we're here, what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it, in addition to Open Cup. Once again, remember, all of that is on Paramount Plus. You get to catch up with Paramount Plus. You get to choose all of your matches. And I'm hoping, and this is just one of the things that it's a personal pet peeve. And I will raise my hand here and ask this question. When it comes to your streaming services, and we pretty much have all of the streaming services here at Office HD, which ones are the easiest ones to navigate? Which ones give you the most trouble in navigation and buffering and all of that? We have a lot of them, and I'm hoping that it might be just where I am and the traffic coming from this particular sector of the planet. But one of the ones that always gives me trouble, and it's also clunky when you're navigating it, is Paramount Plus. I love it. Don't get me wrong. The fact that I get to see lower divisions in England and keep up with everything, I love it. But navigating it always turns into a problem, and buffering turns into a problem. So Peacock sometimes will dump out because of stress on the platform. It'll freeze up and then it'll dump out and I have to go back in. But Netflix traditionally is okay, and this is for like sports viewing and everything. So Netflix is okay, ESPN Plus is okay, Big FOX on their streaming side, they're okay going through web and everything. But when it comes to sports, Peacock, good 90% of the time. Love it, and I'll watch like Multiview and Goal Rush and things like that for the Premier League. I'm locked in on Goal Rush because that's where my brain is these days. I need instant information, boom, 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 boom. So I go to Goal Rush. I don't watch individual matches anymore unless it's a solo. I'll go to Goal Rush on the 10 o'clock and the 9 o'clock kicks, and I'm locked in and I'm good. Paramount Plus for me is the one that's the most difficult to navigate and also the one that buffers the most. So I'm hoping it's because everybody loves Paramount Plus and it's just stress on the network that they end up working on and it improves. Prime Video, fantastic. No problems at all. But Paramount Plus for me is one of the ones that I've had the longest because of everything that they offer. but it ends up with the buffering and everything. Like I said, it could be just me and being here in the office. But traditionally for me, Paramount Plus is the one that gives me the most issues. It's one of the ones, like I said, I love it the most because I get to see lower divisions in England and everything that they have across the board in Europe and in CONCACAF. But it gives me the most trouble because of probably traffic and buffering and such. And I just wanted to compare notes. What else to watch? Once again, on BN, triple header. Well, that was yesterday. Scanning. Okay, so it is a triple header again today. Copa Libertadores. If you've missed it, yesterday our buddy Howard Hamilton over at Soccer Metrics filed his Copa Libertadores show, updating group stage, match day 4 in the group stage. Triple header, 6, 8:30, and 10. Deportivo Táchira, LDU Quito, Central Cordoba, and Flamengo at 8:30. Sporting Cristal and Bolivar is at 10. Once again, the back end of Champions League today, PSG and Arsenal. That's at 3 o'clock. Winner gets Inter. Open Cup, CBS Sports Network. Their doubleheader is Pittsburgh NYC and Phoenix Rising Houston Dynamo. FS2 has afternoon action in the Saudi Pro League. 12:15 and 2 o'clock. Go ahead and watch it if you want. Canadian Championship, Forge and Halifax Wanderers is at 7 o'clock. That's also on FS2, courtesy of our friends at One Soccer, which reminds me we probably should track down our buddy Christian Jack and find out when we get closer to international windows and such, what's going on with Team Canada. Being an Espanol simulcasting Libertadores, Fox Deportes simulcasting the league we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. 2-NA simulcasting Champions League, Liga MX playoffs tonight. Monterrey Toluca's at 9, Pachuca and Club America's at 11:10. Univision simulcasting Champions League. Golazo Network has your late Open Cup After Dark with San Jose and Sacramento. Paramount Plus has all of the Open Cup matchups, plus what's going on with the Champions League. Women, DAZN USA has the French Premier League, Lyon, Le Havre, and PSG and Nantes coming up in 3 minutes. VIX has the UEFA U17s underway. It is Faroe Islands and Austria and the Netherlands and Norway set for 1 o'clock. So that's what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Once again, reminder, noon Eastern. Soccer is in session. Playoff Daily Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. We lead off with Heather Richardson, the girls' head coach at Social Circle. We then get Megan Hill, the head coach at nationally ranked Buford. And then we end up with Aaron Paul, the head coach at Morgan County. And we'll go through all your brackets and let you know what to expect. This is the off day today. Semifinals tomorrow and Friday. SDH will be at Whitewater for Oconee County and Whitewater. And we're trying to figure out our second venue. We don't know if those games have been slid to Friday or not, if it's going to be a doubleheader or not. We know where we're going. We just don't know the date. And I don't want to sit there and say, well, yes, we're going here, and the games are going to be played here. So Oconee County, Whitewater, that's going to be on the network tomorrow. SoccerDownHere.mixler.com and on the Mixler app, or just go to SoccerDownHere.net, hit the Listen tab, and it takes you to that page, and you can listen to anything that's live or listen to our tape content through Spreaker. So today's gossip, once again, consider your sources. I'll let you know if it's the 3 or the 4-letter paper. Al Hilal preparing a bid for Bruno Fernandes. United has no plans to sell. That's the 4-letter paper. 3-letter paper says Newcastle are monitoring Bayer Leverkusen defender Jonathan Tah, who's going to leave the club when his contract expires in the summer. Liverpool's Harvey Elliott attracting interest from several Premier League clubs, including Wolves. Real Madrid not planning to make a move for Real Sociedad midfielder Martin Zubimendi, as they don't think they need him. He's got a release clause of €60 million, by the way. Arsenal considering another move for PSG's Lee Kang-in after failing to strike a deal for the South Korean international in January, 3-letter paper. Bayer Leverkusen and Florian Wirtz set to snub interest from Man City and Real Madrid to join Bayern Munich. Benjamin Sesko's release clause is more than €80 million. Clubs will be able to sign him for less if a suitable offer is made to RB Leipzig. That comes from Florian Plettenberg in Sky Sports Germany. West Ham's winger Mohamed Kudus is the subject of fresh interest from Arsenal. Chiesa could be on his way out of Liverpool this summer. AC Milan and Napoli interested. Chiesa needs one more appearance for the remainder of this season to be able to secure a medal for winning Premier League. He's at 4 appearances. You need 5. Manchester United added Torino's Serbian keeper Vanja Milinkovic-Savic to their summer transfer shortlist. That's from our friends at GMS. So that is That's your rundown of your gossip, your rumor, and your innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it today. Once again, remember all your promo type stuff. Once again, we mentioned Fanatis, all the BNs, Nuestra Tele, CDO, For the Fans, Teise, Gold TV, and our buddy Nino Torres. Tigo Sports now is a part of it. Liga 1 Max Pro, all of that you can get at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And you get to watch Libertadores, Sudamericana. There are some extra above the top subscriptions that you can get to watch everything where that's concerned. I think Peruvian League is another over the top. But Fanatis, you get to watch all that stuff, and you can watch that to your heart's content and continue to be a true sicko. Once again, yesterday we had Lloyd Hours on, the technical director from the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. They made their Kickstarter number with about 2 weeks to spare. Doesn't mean that there aren't other expenses. If you are so inclined, if you have not, you can get into the Kickstarter campaign and continue to help fund that as they get ready for August in Arkansas, where it is now Turks and Caicos, U.S. Virgin Islands, and the Marshall Islands right now in a three-way dance to determine who is going to be the club that would take the first ever Outrigger Challenge Cup in Springdale, Arkansas, August 14th and 16th. You can go back and listen to that interview either in its entirety from the entire show from yesterday or that interview just in and of itself. Part of the Kickstarter campaign and part of the fan packages is our Marshall Islands scarf. If you buy everything else from the Marshall Islands, you get it from them in London. You get the scarf from me. So, like I said, I've got less than 10, and then I know I'm going to have to probably end up getting a new order when it comes to the fan packs and such. All of New York, you can get the first ever SDH jersey. Once again, you get that presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. And what you can do there is help out our Soccer for Good campaign. You've seen Mr. Parkhurst wear it on the air. You've seen Mr. Garza, Maddie Cruz, and our lead photographer, Sophia Cupertino, model for it. As I like to say, Greg Garza gave you blue steel on our Instagram account, modeling the jersey. Once again, helping out Beyond Goals Mentoring, helping out Soccer for Good. Thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente, and you can get it personalized either in the navy blue with the floppy collar. You can get it either personalized in white lettering, or you can get it personalized in the light blue, Carolina blue, Columbia blue lettering. Consult with Alex and Abby. Also, you can go to Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. and get your Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta sweatshirt or T-shirt. Those programs, once again, helps our Soccer for Good campaign. Gold embossed lettering, red or black, sweatshirt or T-shirt. You can help out middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta Public Schools service system by helping out our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. Once again, SDH lettering on one cuff, Grady Baby logo on the other cuff, and you can get all of the gear that you want there to help out Atlanta Public School system there as well. You can be a Fanatico on our Chant app if you dive in and want to be a part of that, and you can join there for $10 a year. What do you do for $10 a year? Well, you can become a Fanatico and go to group.chant.fan. Let me type it, and so I don't screw it up. And then I'll say hi to everybody. So group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. Let's see if I got it right. I did. I don't think I added any more periods. Group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. Once again, $10 a year. $10 a year, you get to become a Fanatico. You get to join us on the Chant app. You get all of the special discounts from all of the places that have partnered with us. You get to be a part of conversations. You get to be a part of our Players of the Match conversations that we have. Anything going on in the Chant app on game days, you get to be a part of that coming up here if you join and become a Fanatico. A lot of partners that we have here, and it is a lot of folks north of the Nat line. Tires Plus at one location is in here. The Moxie's in here. O'Sullivan's is in here. A lot of the breweries that we've been to on our world tour are in here. And also Chateau Arenal in Costa Rica if you ever wanted to stay in Costa Rica. And you get a discount off and a booking with a code. There's also catering on the first ever booking. That's a part of it. Once again, all of their friends there that are a part of things on the Chant app at SDH and to be a part of our Fanaticos membership program and coming up with all the fun that we have there. Once again, reminder coming up at noon. It is Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily Live presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. It is Heather Richardson from Social Circle, Megan Hill from Buford, Aaron Paul from Morgan County. We go over all your brackets. We talk to them about their programs, about their wins, about their seasons here on this rare off day when it comes to the playoffs. Quarterfinals were yesterday. You can go back and listen to the Dalton match with Dalton and St. Pius that was on the network yesterday with me, Maddie, and Jason. Maddie and Jason on the call, and I was dropping in scores when I could. Great match, great environment up at Harmon Field and Bill Chappell Stadium yesterday in Dalton. And we get to preview the semifinals coming up Thursday and Friday. Next week, Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily Live. We'll be going at noon to wrap up the season, considering that's championship week. But we'll also catch up with some of our friends who had some really great seasons and find out about the growth of the sport. So another week and a half of Soccer is in Session Playoff Daily Live as we chase after the championships here in the state of Georgia and the GHSA. So let me say hi to everybody. And Kefsi's right there with me. Great content. No idea why they make the multi-layered open issues and quick access pane over the video. It is a pain. Kefsi, it is a pain. It's a quick access pane, and it is a pain. So hi, Kefsi. Hi, Rich. Hi, Michael. I know that you and I will run into each other with with our bosses and with our pups. And I know that we like to have these conversations offline as well. So morning, Rich. Once again, morning, Michael. And morning, Dell. Hopefully I answered your question about Caden Clark. Dell, if Jamie Vardy joins Dean Smith in Charlotte, he's 37. I don't know what he could bring to the table considering who he has up front right now anyway with Wilf Zaha, Patrick Ajimong, and hopefully Yuri Tavares. Look, if Dean Smith doesn't want Yuri Tavares or Patrick Ajimong, shoot, I'd take him in a heartbeat. I think that Jamie Vardy might be better served going to Wrexham. I've heard that as a possible idea to help them in their championship season. I think that is probably a better idea. But Jamie Vardy to Wrexham, to me, makes a lot more sense than Jamie Vardy to Charlotte FC. Let's see. So morning, Kevsey. Morning, Michael. Morning, Derek. Let's see. Bart. Hope is dead, despair thrives. Miss you too, Bart. All that work that you have to do. Morning, Four Card. Let's see. Morning, Ropes. I think Ropes, to your point, and this is going to sound cliche, and I'm busting out all my cliches. He wants to know when you break out of the stage. Literally, I think it takes one solid 90 minutes to sit there and prove that you can do it to yourself. Sometimes it takes something that simple. That's what my gut tells me. Then you got Tommy and Kefsey and David and Alex. And let's see, who else am I missing here? So once again, Michael and Alex and Dell and Ropes. And I'm trying to see who else is here. So it's Alex and Ricky, and that's everybody who participated in the Twitch pitch, but I know that is not everybody that participates on a daily basis here at SDH. Tomorrow, once again, Power Hour. We go through everything that happened. Open Cup. We get you ready for Atlanta United and Chicago. Power Hour, hour number 2, Nino Torres from Gold TV, discussing everything Champions League, Libertadores, and Europe. And then our buddy Nico Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart's going to join us for the last half hour. We'll talk about what happened, what we played, the sound from Tacoma, with what happened with the man in the middle, Salvador Bernal, and the head coach for Tacoma Defiance. We'll go over that match. We'll go over everything in Open Cup. We'll go over everything in MLS as we get you ready for the weekend. We'll play Cliffhanger, and then it'll be Soccer's in Session, Match Day Live. That's going to happen on Thursday at noon. Once again, we'll go over your semifinal brackets, get you ready for things going on around the planet, and we'll also get you ready for Whitewater and Oconee County. We'll see if we can catch up with folks and see what their noon hours are like as we get you ready for the semifinals starting on Thursday here in the state of Georgia. That's it for another go-round of SDH AM. Thanks to all of you folks that get to watch us on a daily basis. Share the word. And if you want to come in and talk soccer, you can be a part of it on the YouTube channel. You can be a part of it on the Twitch pitch. You can be a part of it on the 280-character app Monday through Friday, 9:05 Eastern time until whenever. Traditionally, it's 11:05, but we know we go over. And sometimes breaking news means we go over a lot. But coming up, top of the hour, it is Soccer is in Session, Playoff Daily Live. We'll catch up with coaches around the state, take you through your brackets, let you know what's going on here around the state of Georgia when it comes to playoff soccer on the boys and girls sides here in the GHSA. So for Dylan Butler, for Tyler Pilgrim, Scarves and Spikes, their midweek show is tonight at 7 o'clock. I'm John Nelson. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do, here on SDH AM. Mucha plati, y'all. Play it safe. And since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. We'll take it easy. We'll see you in about 45 minutes. Actually, more like